In the last episode of Pixar's Adventure Park, we started on the cars ride making the fantastic queue, we also worked on the station, and of course the first scene of the ride itself. Hello everyone and welcome to Pixar's Adventure Park episode 10. It is honestly crazy that we are already at episode 10. But with that said, it is time to start Radiator Springs Racers. But before I quickly start that, I want to explain the name of this ride. As some of you may know, as I say in my streams, it is not going to be called Radiator Springs Racers. And that is for the obvious reason that, well, you're not really racing anyone, are you? So I'm going to have to think of a new name, and I think I like the idea of Lightning McQueen's Speed Test. Before we get building as well, there's a couple little changes that I made off camera that I just want to show you quickly. The first one is I just changed the car's colors to be all separate. It looks a lot nicer and more colorful. And then I also added this river in as suggested by not me.
Classic. Oh, a little tip. What you could try and do if you want, you'd like. I'm just saying. You could try. I haven't tried this before myself, but you could try and use the river rapids here. But you definitely use this.
So the plan is for this episode, I'm going to try and hopefully get this whole area done. And then after this episode, we're going to move on back into the center of Carsland and finish it up. And that will probably be the final episode. So that's enough said. Let's get started. The very first thing I want to do is quickly just get the floor in place. Doing this is nothing special. It's pretty boring actually. So I'm going to just cut the once I have it all in place. Hardcore Pookie, sick. I guess that's just my new nickname now. I have now completed pretty much all the flat terrain. It is very basic, but it's gonna work well because I just need to add some detail and make it look nice. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is work on filling in these gaps from the floor to the road. And the way I'm going to do that is by using these pre-built little hills that I've made that I can kind of just shove underneath. And I've also made these in a very specific way so they should line up absolutely perfectly, which is honestly going to take hours, maybe probably more. I mean, like, this honestly looks so cool, but it alone took maybe 20 minutes just to get this little bit done, and I've got to do pretty much the whole ride. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Round about here, I'm going to cut it off because I might just make this a bridge. That will make it so much easier to build and it will just look cool. So we will start to just bring this terrain down into the floor. So far we've got this one bank done, and honestly I'm so happy with how it looks. It's not the smoothest in some parts, but honestly I don't think I'm going to be able to do much better than that. So now what I'm going to try and do is just copy this and see if it will fit over on that turn, and if it does, I might cry. I don't even know, you know. It doesn't fit perfectly, but I can easily just adjust this, as I'll be able to at least get this sort of area done. Same thing over here. I'm going to have to do another sort of little bridge. I might do a cave for this, could be even cooler. Now that we've got the terrain done, mostly finished over here, I'm going to work on something else. I'm going to do a little cave or tunnel or whatever you want to call this. So the first thing I'm going to do is create just a basic and simple little outline of this, and then we can add some rock work to it to make it look a lot nicer. We'll start off with these cool little curved primitives that I use all the time, and we can make a little base of what this cave is going to look like. Thinking something along this shape could work. The tricky part is with this is that this is quite low to the ground. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change up the track just a little bit. I've got a little model of the cave done, and I've adjusted the ride just a little bit so it fits just a tiny bit nicer, but this is kind of ugly at the moment, and that's fine because we're going to be able to use a lot of rock work like we did over here. We're going to be able to make it look so much nicer. So let's get started on that. I'm going to start pretty basic, and then I'm going to get a bit more detailed as I go. So for now, something just as simple as this will be fine. Paint this all the concrete color as well. Another thing we can do is just use these basic rocks as well and place these around just to add a bit more detail. And what I want to do for these rocks is make some of these just a bit darker, just to add a bit more color to the area. I think something like this will look very nice. So I'm going to leave this bridge just for a little bit because I want to quickly get this little area done, because this is going to be easy and really quick. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm just going to grab all this terrain over here. I'm going to copy it and pretty much just paste it in there just like that. Now that I got that, I'm just going to grab it and I'm going to copy it all the way down. And what I'm going to do is just every so often grab a certain piece and change it up so it doesn't look like I have copied it, even though I have. Just like that works nicely. Now that I got that terrain in place, I'm going to grab the floor and copy this up all the way to here and copy it out around there. I think should be good. What I'll also do is just add some small terrain into the middle of the two tracks, I guess you call them here. Something like that works really nicely. It just blocks out the end of the track, which I think just makes it a bit nicer. Now the next thing I got to do is get this path to kind of lead into the floor here. So I'll quickly do that. We can then connect this path to here. Something just like that will work perfectly. Can't lie, this seems like it's starting to come together, but we still have so much more to do. So the next thing I'm going to try and do is just kind of get this little area here done and complete, and try and do this just in segments. So the first thing I want to do is quickly fix up this terrain and make it look a lot nicer really. Now what I'm going to do is grab all these pieces of the road and just bring them down into the ground till about there. There we go. And then what I'm going to do here is some more of this rock work that I kind of did over here, and we'll just do some basic rock work all the way to around here. We can change the colors of some of these rocks as well. I'm also going to add some of these cool hexagonal rocks in. Now that we got this little bit of rock work here done, I'm going to try and make the cave entrance, which is definitely going to prove to be difficult. So in the middle of the two paths, I'm going to put like a little pillar, kind of have these as like structural supports almost, I guess you could call them. Now that we got that done, the next thing I'm going to try and do is kind of follow the track with the path, which is probably going to be quite difficult, just as the rest of the train is, I guess. I'll be honest, doing actual coaster supports would probably have been so much easier than this. Right here at this ramp will probably just be another sort of bridge or something, just because doing terrain going all the way up to here is going to be super difficult, and a bridge will just be so much easier. So we're going to do that. We'll also just grab some of this rock work and copy it onto the other side down here and just put that in like that. We'll do a quick little test to make sure it all looks nice. You barely even see it. I'm probably going to spend too much time on this for like a 1 minute ride, but you know what, it's fine. Now I've done a decent little bit of this area. The next thing I want to do is actually add some greenery, because I'm already getting quite sick of the rock work. So I want to mix it up a bit. What I'll first do is grab these bad boys. I can start placing them around. What I'll also do is grab these cylinders and just put like some sort of dead grass under the big patches of these leaves. Now I can just kind of copy these around and just add a bit more greenery. Another thing I also forgot to add were cactuses to the land. So I'm just gonna make some random piles of cactuses just like this. So I can get that desert sort of landscape look. What I'll also do is grab these rocks and just create some random piles of rocks around the place, and we'll paint these the right color just like that. So it was at this stage of the build where I got so tired and sick of doing terrain, so I decided I wanted to try something a bit new, and that was to live stream the next part of this build. So let's get into that. Some of you may have seen my community post I did talking about why I'm not going to be uploading a video tonight. And I couldn't get it out though because it was taking way too damn long. So I thought, as a fun way to record, I'm going to live stream me building, and I'm going to use that footage in the next video. Right, so I just got to continue the rock work around the corner. I gotta add so much rock work, it's gonna be insane. Imagine this, but everywhere or down here. It's gonna be crazy. I'm just gonna pretty basically just copy this around, and then I can just like change it up a little later if I want. Make sure it's not clipping through the floor at any points. We then want it to come back to here. This road is awfully close to the edge of the plot, which is a bit worrying, but that's chill. Kai Core Pookie is so alpha? Okay. I thought Kai Core Pookie was gonna be like a one-off thing, you know. This rock work, one thing about it is it looks all very equal, I guess you'd say. So I'm gonna try and build some, like, I don't know what you call them, like little mountains, I guess. Just like lift some of the pieces up a bit just to make it look more natural. So pretty much for the rest of the stream, it was more terrain work. I also made some basic little seats and some basic little cactuses that I decided to spread out around the area. Other than that, it was just working on terrain, so I'm not going to show you the whole part of that because that is really boring. So it has now been some time since that live stream. I did a decent amount of work, but I think what I want to do is get this area finished and then we can work on this final little area over there. And that should be the episode done. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is work on this bridge here, and this is going to be a very wonky bridge because it is, you know, on many different angles. So I don't know how this is going to look, but we're going to give it a try anyway. So I'm going to just start off with something like this. We'll make it decently thin, and then we just gotta kind of go along and connect it all the way across. So far this is going well, but this is where we get to the difficult part, where we gotta kind of make it turn inward a bit. I'll be honest, that was a lot easier than I expected it to be. So that is pretty much the structure of the bridge done. We just painted a road color like that, should work pretty well. Then underneath that, we're going to use the same blue color from this bridge over here, and we're gonna just add that on the underside of it. I'll then make some extra pillars for this bridge, just like this. There we go, that works. That is looking good for the base of the bridge. The next thing I want to do is just add some like metal highlights to it. The next thing I'm going to try and do is create like a railing on this bridge as well. Something like this will work, but I'm going to make it just a little thicker. These type of supports are so much more difficult than just doing the normal like cylinder supports. I don't know why I decided to do these, but it's going to look sick once I finish. I should then hopefully be able to just copy this to the other side and it should fit in as well. Actually, no, before I copy that over, I want to put in the hose, I guess you'd call it. Now thinking of it, something else we can do is just copy that down as well. Oh my gosh. All right, that is awesome. Last thing I've got to do with this bridge is just copy everything to the other side, which is pretty basic and easy. That bridge is nice, but it took so dang long. And oh my gosh, that bridge alone took me 25 minutes to make, but that is fine. So that's pretty much got this area finished. So we now need to move on to this area. The very first thing I'm going to do, oh my gosh, that is the wrong color, is I'm going to paint all of this the same darker color. I decided to change the basic color of this ground because I don't know, I think this just looks a bit nicer. I think the next thing I'm going to quickly do is finish off this little bit of terrain that's holding up this track. Right here, I'm now going to build something very iconic to the movies. It is called Willy's Butte, which is this sort of terrain. So let's get started on that quickly. What I'm going to first do is just use cylinders so I can try and get the shape right. So it starts off sort of big and then it kind of like slowly shrinks down a bit. Then it starts to shrink in a lot. Then it starts to slowly get bigger again. Each time we'll extend that out a little further. So something around this sort of shape, I think, is what we want to go for. And I'll be honest, that looks pretty decent already. One thing I need to do though is just fix up the final little thing I'll do on the top of this. Do this up once more, make it just a little smaller. There we go, that's looking pretty nice. The next thing I'm going to do is just color this, of course. I think for this color, I'm going to pick something a bit more reddish and orange, just like that. This shape is going to be super difficult to make look good. So I'm just hoping by using all these like sort of cylinder pieces, I might be able to make something somewhat decent. This won't be as, it's not going to be as consistent with the rest of the Rockwork, but I think it's going to be the best I'm going to be able to do. But I think something like this along the whole thing is going to honestly look great. So I wasn't really recording, but I made a little gradient. I added some extra rocks to it, and now what I'm going to do is add some extra colors to it just to make it look a bit more rocky. And then I think on the top of it we'll have it kind of gradient back into that normal color as well. I think that looks very nice just like that. What I finally need to do for this ride is do the bridge and just this sort of terrain here. So let's get started on this. What we'll do is just have this become a slope. Pretty simple. Just like that will work, and then we got to do the same sort of thing on this side. Something very basic but very simple. Now in the middle of this, I'm just going to use some rock work just because it's easy to do. So let's quickly do that. With that, I can just grab all of this rock work, copy it over, and legit just put it in place. As simple as that. We also just want to make sure this rock work looks good on both sides. The next thing I think I'm going to do is work on this little bridge here. This one should be a lot easier than the last one because for the most part it's straight. So let's get started on that. I have to be careful here as well just because this piece of track is very close to this piece of track. So man, I'm not gonna even lie, I have been working on Carsland for months now and I'm a little excited to finally finish it and move on to the next areas. I knew Carsland was going to be a big land, but I did not expect it to take this long to build. Especially the ride. I knew the ride was going to be pain, especially with all the terrain, but this was honestly a lot more than I expected. Alright, that is the base of the bridge done, and that is a little tight, but we won't talk about that. Actually, how tight is that? You know what? I think it works. As long as you don't put your hands up on the ride, you should be fine. The next thing we need to do is just color this correctly. We'll then copy this, bring it down, size it up just a little bit. What I'm going to try and do is bring these parts of the bridge as high up as we can, because we're going to need as much room as possible. Next thing I'm going to do is quickly make this first little support. Have one on this side, and then we'll also put one over on this side. Also going to put one in the middle here. There we go, that looks pretty nice. Now that we got that done, we just gotta make the railing, which is gonna be a little annoying, but that's fine. There we go, that is the railing done. We will next paint this the same metal color, and we will now work on the supports for these railings. While I'm doing this, let me tell you about something cool that has just recently happened. I have now got my own creator page on the Theme Park Tycoon 2 workshop. On this page, I'm going to be posting some builds that I've made that may include some from this park. At the moment of recording, I've only got a Pixar kit and a Monsters Inc. kit up, but I should soon hopefully have a Cars kit up. So make sure to go check it out. The link will be in the description. Oh my gosh, this takes so long to do. So I'm so glad this is the final fence. That is the second bridge now done. I was going to add these little parts onto this, but I think it's just way too thin and it won't fit, but this will work completely fine. Let's test out the second bridge real quick, make sure it looks nice. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Quickly just move these cactuses over to the side a bit, and this is starting to look almost finished. One thing I'm gonna do, which may be a little lazy, but it should be fine, I'm gonna copy the bottom half of this and I'm gonna put it here. Just as some extra nice little terrain that I can add in. Something like that will work nicely. The next thing I would like to do is going to grab all this sort of like dirt transition, I guess you can call it, and start to kind of like outline this whole area. The reason why it's going to be dirt on that side is because there's going to be a certain little area here that some of you know of. So I want to try and keep each area in their own little zone. And I don't want you to be able to see the other zones from the areas, I guess. Just pretty much trying to keep it as immersive as possible. We will follow this all the way until the end of the rockwork here. Oh my gosh, this is looking epic. What I'll do next is I'm just going to try and I'm then going to just paint this all with dirt. There we go. That is looking very epic. You can really start to see like how the land is going to come out now. It's looking pretty cool. Now it's pretty much just up to finishing touches where I can, you know, just place some more like cactuses around. Be honest, I'm going to actually start to place some trees and bushes in. Just try and get this sort of like outline starting to look nice. Now with the Monsters Inc. ride, I was able to release the PLV quite soon after I finished building the ride. This is not going to be the case because I will need to finish all this area before I can release the PLV. So it still might be a while before you see that. One thing I can do is use these new trees which look absolutely beautiful and just kind of place these around. I can also use these to make some sort of bushes, looks nice. And then what I'm going to also do, just to think it might look cool, grab some terrain, like maybe here, place it like that, and just do like little bits of terrain around the place. Mainly what I'm doing now is just trying to fill up all this sort of empty space around the area, putting some cactuses, some rocks in place, just making it look a little more detailed, putting these trees up behind the grass. Another thing I can do is kind of just put some of these trees inside as well. Not too many though, because it is, again, yet a desert. You can also add these new trees into these sort of areas, because they just, let's be honest, they look so much nicer than the other trees. Now kind of what I'm doing is just trying to get this all prepared for the next area. Another thing I need to do is just get rid of all this crap here. Bro, he just called me quite cool, Pookie. I think I need to ban him. Like, I cannot tolerate this any longer. There we go. I think for now that will be fine. In the episode where we build this land, I'll focus more on the terrain there, of course. Just basic little things I need to do now, like making the rockwork here look nicer. I call Pookie Racers coming along nicely. That is not the name. I actually can't believe it, but this ride is now like almost complete. I don't want to add too much because this is meant to be a deserty landscape. So I'm going to try and keep it limited. Now I'll add couple more cactuses around and stuff, but I don't know what else I can really add. I think we're getting close to finishing. There is still a lot of work that needs to be done off camera, so I'll probably do another live stream where I work on this live, because people really seem to like that. That'd be cool. Oh, I forgot the cave. So yeah, I think next episode what I'm going to work on is finishing off the main area of Cars Land. There's a little bit of Luigi's that I still need to be done. I also need to make the ride signs, same with Twister ride over here, make the ride signs for this ride. I'll probably finish off the cave as well, because I've got an idea of what I want to do in here, but that involves something that I need to make in the next episode. So honestly, I think this episode we have done so dang much. We did all of this, and it may not seem like much, but it took me a good like 10 to 20 hours. Like, episodes in the future probably won't be as long as this one. I need to really split. Like, I could have done this whole ride in maybe 3 or 4 episodes, but you know what, we just sent it and did it all right now. If you want to see me building this live, remember to subscribe. I'll be doing this on Sunday, probably working on this, so it'll be the next day after this upload. Other than that, I think we have finished up the ride for the most part. There's only one thing I'd like to do, and that is, of course, test the ride out. As I said earlier, the ride PLV won't be dropping because I will still be working on this, of course, in the live stream, in the next episode, and maybe a bit off screen, but I'm getting hyped. So we got the main scene. It looks very lovely. You've all seen this part times. We have the cave here, which I'm gonna have a character in that. I'm gonna try and build next episode, so we'll see how that goes. And then we've got the ride. Oh my gosh, this looks awesome. Thanks so much for watching this episode, and if you made it this far, then you're a real one. As I said before, we're going to be finishing off Cars Land in the next episode. It's a little sad, but I'm excited to move on to the next little mini area we're going to put here. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see ya in the next episode of Pixar's Adventure Park.